Hello everyone, Ron here from L.T.L Tutoring Central, and this is the first discussion video or speaking video for the read-along series. So this is text number 1, Conformity, which was a Common Lit text. You can see it on commonlit.org, or you can watch the video in which I read the text, and that's the listening video, called the listening video. Then you do the reading. You can do writing if you like. If you want feedback on the writing, you can send it to me. There is a small charge for the feedback because it takes me some time to go over the writing and give the comments and suggestions to improve your writing. But otherwise, there's no charge for the listening or for the speaking video to attend, and to read the text is free as well. So there you go. Today, I'm talking about the conformity text, and I just want to point out a few things. So I'm going to share my screen so that I can look at the text at the same time, and you can see it also. So in the first paragraph, the author describes basically what conformity is. And it's simply the idea that people often follow the crowd, or people often want to agree with other people. You have a picture there with all the white marbles and one black one. So there's one person who could be called an outlier. That's mentioned in the text. And if you know a little bit about math, you know that an outlier is outside of the norm or outside of the usual trend, and in this case of people and what they agree upon. In the second paragraph, the author mentions that the word conformity, or to conform, often has a negative connotation. We often think of this as a bad thing, that people are like sheep all following the crowd. And that can sometimes be the case. There are certainly instances in which conformity or extreme conformity can cause problems. You can probably think of a few. There are some recent incidents which fit that, that description. However, it can also be a good thing, and that is mentioned in the text also, that sometimes conformity can have positive effects or positive results. In the third paragraph, they talk about psychologist Herbert Kelman, who delineates or talks about 3 types of conformity. And the first one is compliance. And that is a case in which you keep your own thoughts and ideas to yourself, but outwardly you conform to the group. And it's probably in instances that you deem not very important often, and you just go along with the crowd, you go along with the group, but you might have your own thoughts inside. So you could be at a party and everybody's agreeing on a particular topic and you go along with it, even though in your heart of hearts, maybe you don't totally agree with what's being said. So that's just compliance. Then there's identification, and he talks about that as when you identify with a person, someone you like, could be a friend, a family member, or even someone in the public persona, a politician or an actor or singer or something, someone you identify with and you tend to agree with that person. You like that person, you respect that person, and so you are more likely to comply or to conform rather. You're more likely to agree with that person. And then the third type is internalization. Sorry, I'd forgotten the word there. It's in the third paragraph. Internalization, and that is when you believe that these are your own ideas. Now, you might start off right away with that, or that might develop over time, so that you, at first, you're maybe just complying, or maybe you're sort of identifying with the person, and then it can sort of move into internalization over time, where these thoughts and ideas become your own, and now they're actually your thoughts and your reasoning and your ideas, and you might even forget that at the beginning you didn't totally agree. You might not have even agreed at all. So internalization can happen near the beginning, or it can happen later on as you continue to associate with different people or hear different thoughts. You can begin to internalize those, and you can start to believe that those are your own thoughts. They do talk about conformity, and they talk about driving as being a good reason to conform, that you would like to have people follow the rules, that you would like to have people follow all of the driving rules so that there aren't a lot of accidents or aren't a lot of problems on the road. So that's a good reason to conform to the rules of the road and follow the signs, etc. They also talk about, I've just scrolled up here to the fourth paragraph, an experiment that they did with a dot of light. And they were asking people how much the light was moving. And at first there was some disagreement, but over time, everyone sort of started to agree on the amount of movement, even though the light was never actually moving, but some people thought it was. And each group would start to agree with the other members over a period of time. And that was just showing how conformity can change over time. It's a small experiment, but it's a very important experiment. And I think that we all probably have that, or many of us have that experience if you've worked in groups, or if you belong to different groups, or just talking with friends and family. You can start to see how people sometimes start to change their ideas on a certain topic over time, and to agree with either someone who is very identifiable in the group, so a lot of people identify with that person, or simply the group as a whole sort of starts to coalesce around a particular thought or idea, so that conformity can become stronger over time. And we also often tend to be attracted to groups that agree with us, or people that agree with us. That can be very good in the case of driving. It can be very bad if we start to move into ideas that are not so positive or not so good, and we can kind of get stuck in this box or this bubble. And so it's important for us to try to continue to be critical thinkers, and it's okay to conform, but it's also okay to question, even just question yourself, and to think for yourself. There's also people who always want to disagree, always want to be outside of the box, or outside of the group. But I think there's problems with that too, because sometimes the group is correct. The question, and then they talk, before I get into the question I asked, they talk a little bit about the dark side of conformity, the need to be accepted, and the fear of punishment for deviating from the group can impel people to unthinkingly adopt negative attitudes or behaviors. So it becomes a spiral of silence, they call it, and sometimes even more people will take part in activities that they wouldn't normally have done, but now they belong in this group and they feel strongly toward a certain idea. And so that can become a problem. And the last sentence is, history is rife with examples of mass conformity to group norms and ideas that were destructive. So yes, that can definitely happen. The question that I wanted you to think about and write about was, can you think of any other instances in which conformity would be a good thing? They mentioned driving in the text. There are many possible answers to this question, so I don't know what everyone would have come up with, but for me and for some of my other students that I've talked to using this text or other texts, because there are several that are similar, one of the things that we have recently in almost every country in the world, so this should suit everybody, is the COVID-19 restrictions or the rules. So if everyone conforms, if everyone tries to work in their area with what the rules are, wearing masks generally, washing their hands, sanitizing, physical distancing, these kinds of things can be very helpful in getting this disease under control. There are people who disagree, I know, but I do believe that the evidence is fairly clear that when people conform to the rules, and I'm not talking about being forced, that's different, but willingly conforming to the rules and following protocols, there does seem to be a very positive effect in lowering the numbers of cases and lowering the numbers of deaths. So that's one instance in which you could at least argue that conformity has a positive effect and can be a good thing. Probably you can think of many instances. Generally, when you're looking at certain rules or laws, you will often find that conformity can be a good thing. So in other words, at the airport, if you're going through to fly on planes, which a lot of people are not doing right now because of COVID-19, but usually when people are traveling, there are certain rules that you follow at the airport. And this is for your own safety, but it's also to make sure that your luggage gets where it's going and that you get where you're supposed to be going. So there are certain protocols and certain rules that you follow that can help to make things move along much more smoothly. So that's a positive or a good instance of conformity. When people are lining up, whether that's again at the airport or somewhere else at a theater, when people are lining up and waiting their turn and being polite, I think all of those instances of conformity can be seen in a positive light. So there are lots of areas in which conformity is not necessarily a bad thing. Of course, I could have had you write about the bad ones, but I thought we'd be positive since there are so many problems already right now in the world. So that's all I really have to say about this text. I just wanted you to think about it a little bit and see what you could extract from it and maybe write a little bit about it as well. You're welcome to join me in these speaking videos, in these discussion videos. If you want to, you just have to send me an email so that I can send out the invitation each time I record. I don't necessarily record at the same day and time for these, so I need to be able to do that, and I'll add you to the mailing list so that you will get the notifications, and then you can join me and we can practice speaking on the topic, but also a little bit off the topic before we begin the recording as well. So don't forget to follow up. In a couple of weeks, I'll be doing a new read along. I'll be reading a text, so you can listen to the text, read the text, write about it if you like, and then join me in the speaking video, which will follow. Check out the other videos on my website. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and click on the notification bell. That will also help you get notified. Like the video if you do. I hope you do. If you have questions or comments, if you're watching on YouTube, you can put it below the video, of course. You can also check out the website. I will put a link below, and you can send me a question or a comment by email as well. And of course, you can take one of my Udemy courses, or you can actually sign up and take some courses directly with me as well. There are so many things we can do at L.T.L. Tutoring Central. It's Ron Johnson from L.T.L. Tutoring Central. Have a great week. Keep learning and keep having fun. And I shall talk to you hopefully next week. Bye-bye for now.